very quick on how 85 has impacted you. Yes.
My name is Robin Deach. I've had my own floral and grant design business for the past 10 years. And it's impacted me because if I'm going to have anybody come and work with me on a regular basis and design these weddings or events, I'm going to have to take them on.
So what will that do?
I mean, I have to raise my prices 20 to 25%, and it will cut into my profit, and probably I'll have to take on a greater workload because every project that I put out between now and the end of the year, I just haven't put into my budget to have the additional costs.
My name is Cynthia Gordon. I'm a certified shorthand reporter. I work as a freelancer. And I've printed up what I've been, the freight train that I've been seeing coming for the past 5 months. And that is from an official reporter who said that now they want to make them the freelancers who go and help work in court, W-2 employees, and don't want to pay them mileage anymore. And the court is now limiting them to 1 extra helper per month. It's going to, in all caps, she wrote, "This is a direct hit to the justice system and threatens due process rights." That is exactly what, all the problems she outlines in this is what I saw coming and what every single senator, assembly person, Newsom, Senate consultant Gideon Bond, and Trump received from me back on December 5th. And I've printed out all of that for you if you'd like to see that. But this is an absolute travesty because I see this is going to unravel the justice system as we know it in this state. That is what I have seen coming. And all the mom and pop shops are going to get closed down, and the big box companies are going to come in and swoop in and pay us cents on the dollar as employees.
There's a minimum wage.
Well, traditionally, we get paid as a copy order. We get a copy order for every attorney. Absolutely.
And please pass, this is my.
So my name is Elizabeth Tobias. I'm an artist, and I work as an expressive arts therapist and a teaching artist, and I work freelance. That's how I work. I've worked freelance for 30 years. I am a mother. I have another business that I do, and freelance is how I live. I am a photographer sometimes, I'm a teacher sometimes, I'm this sometimes, I'm that sometimes, I'm a gigger. And then I posted because I made a call to Lorena Gonzalez's office after I lost a contract. They hung up on me. And that really...
Ooh. Ouch.
Wow.
And I shared a tweet I just
Oh,
found
God.
of hers this
Share
morning.
it publicly. That's a
Okay,
good.
so then...
It's a tweet, it's public information.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I would have
this
deleted
morning
this
I
tweet.
was looking at something, just trying to put a story together, and she tweeted on December 18th that there was a historic low in unemployment. Then somebody tweeted back and said, "Don't worry, people won't be able to do 2 to 3 side hustles anymore, thanks to you and hashtag AB5." And then she tweeted back, "They shouldn't fucking have to." Yes.
Yeah, but many people, this is what they choose to do and they don't want a full-time job.
No, we know that.
That tweet is like from November or December.
December.
And
It's been
her
more.
defense was that she was tweeting to one specific guy. So but everybody in the universe saw it, and it appeared on KUSI when she was being interviewed, because the guy in the graphics guy popped it up there for like 3 seconds.
I went to the
Yeah.
Progressive Labor Summit. At that time, I thought unions could be on our side. She was dropping F-bombs every other sentence. It was kind of embarrassing.
So Rob, you're the host.
Thank you. Yes. My name is Rob Gordon. I guess I would, short way to describe myself would be contract project manager and technical writer. AB5 has not affected me that much. I haven't lost any contract. I don't have a lot to lose right now. but I haven't really lost that many contracts. I didn't like the disrespect of it. Somebody else was writing letters about this. I started a long time ago writing letters about the independent workforce, whatever you want to call us. I never liked the word workforce. Independent professionals. To all my elected representatives, none of them, they were polite letters, they were rants, none of them returned to my letters, none, zero. And I started getting curious about it, started going to the Economic Development and Intergovernmental Relations Subcommittee. It's so hard to say that. And they weren't interested. It's just not their thing. That's not the way they view the world. They view the world through the lens of jobs. In my opinion, it would be better to look at it through the lens of work hours. If you use that as your statistics, you would get an entirely different picture of the economy. Work hours could be dropping and jobs could be going up, so we don't know that. I didn't like the disrespect of it. They took us from kind of second-class citizens, that might be overstating it a bit, hey, Megan, to almost illegal, criminalized.
Great, so why don't we move around so I get to hear?
I'm sorry, I could talk
That's
forever.
okay.
Oh, my name's Alexis. I'm an occupational
Oh, that's
therapist.
right, you were there at the La Jolla's town.
I was.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I'm affected because I'm 2 years into this, kind of a new grad. I work for already big healthcare companies, and I'm not going to be pushed. My ethics aren't going to be pushed, so I'd rather be working for myself. And I was contracted with another therapist who is a one-woman show. We're both, women of color doing it and getting it done. And now I'm an employee of hers, and she can't afford to have me on for all these hours.
Ugh.
I'm down to 4 hours a week.
Ugh.
So that's my American dream right there. So it's awful.
You took courage to come to the La Jolla Town Council and speak up.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, and to Elizabeth.
You'll get your work back.
I'm Lauren Becker Downey, and I am an artist who teaches art, and I run an art school as well. So theoretically, I've got the fine artist exemption, but I don't really know what that means. It's been put in the bill to be vague, and it continues to be vague. So I contract with about 20 different independent contractors who teach classes for me. And I'm moving forward as though this doesn't affect me, but I need to tighten up my game with making sure I have business licenses from everybody, and it gives me a lot of anxiety. And I know that it's not just me that's affected, so I'm kind of in this fight. I'm active. Thank you.
Sue, I'm an attorney, I'm an independent contractor, so I'm opted out of the legislation. It's one of the categories that's opted out.
Attorneys
so-
have lobbyists.
I'm part of that lobbying thing, but so it is not affecting me. I fall under the pre-existing case law that determines whether or not I'm an employee or an independent contractor, just like I always have. But still, I just think that the law it's a violation of people's rights. If someone wants to contract, and that's the agreement that they make, and I don't want to be a full-time employee, and I want to pay for my own health insurance, so what? That's their right. I mean, what happened to, in the day, like, being able to flex schedules, right? That was touted as such a great thing. Well, being an independent contractor is an ultimate flex schedule.
Yeah.
And to take away the right for the vast majority of people to do that, and they're living that way, especially like moms who I was saying, like my mom drop off her kids in the morning, and then work, drive an Uber or whatever it is for 3 hours, and then pick up their kids. Why should a legislature take away someone's right to do that? Because no one's gonna hire you to be a full-time employee, because they're gonna say, well, you must drive from 9 to 5.
Right.
You must be in the
Right,
hospital.
which is your full-time employee, they have that right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so I just think the whole thing is horrible and unfair and unconstitutional, quite frankly.
I agree.
My name is Gordon Jones, and I work primarily as an event entertainer. I do caricature section,
Oh.
and it's a really fun job. How 85 is affecting me is how it works in event entertainment is whether you're an artist, a bass painter, a magician, a DJ, or whatever, you often have to subcontract other artists to work for you. First, you can double book, or you need an event with 3 or 4 artists. I have to hire all these people, even if I work with them just once a year, which is usually what happens. For 2 hours, then they have to be my employee. And likewise, these people all hire me or contract me in return. So I would have about 12 other employees, and these people all be my employers. We are employees The main harm that this has done to me is, my butter is corporate clients. I draw a lot of training, I don't digitally on computer screens, and it shows. It's a very well suited to the corporate environment. Those clients are all here at January 1st. I have not a single corporate inquiry
Ouch.
since January 1st.
Ouch.
It's 90% of the so, I mean, because there are little departments that are telling them to stay away from independent contractors in California. There are people all over the country that do exactly what I do, that's flying to California to do it. I know, I
Oh,
work
so they're using people from out of the state?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah,
They're
oh,
just
yeah.
using outsiders.
You know, yeah. I mean, I fly to other states sometimes because the client likes me. Like, we were on the DSU, their trade show. It's like a 3 or 4 day event. And those kind of bros to talk about figures and like wages and stuff. And I heard $250 an hour for like 20 hours a week. So I'm doing that. And that money was disappearing. I wasn't able to actually save money, buy a house until I became a I used to work at SeaWorld doing it, earning maybe $15 per hour. And when I quit my own doing event entertainment, I was actually able to earn a living on the ride. Now that we're all gone, right now we have to freeze all of our new spending. I'm not gonna buy a car this year like I was planning. We get our air conditioning fixed, because we have to just start living off of our
So
savings.
this is a ripple effect in the economy.
Exactly.
Yes,
We're spending.
It's not
absolutely.
just your story, it's everybody.
My wife was the same thing. She moved her, quit her job at UT to do just what I do, too. And we're now the same boat. So,
People are gonna start foreclosing on their homes. That's my forecast.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's the name up?
I'm Kristen Vogel. I'm the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. So we're an arts nonprofit out of the Bay Station. My entire career has been dedicated on being a contract worker, as a musician, as a freelance editor and writer, as a standardized patient, so you name it, I've probably done it. We are having to reconfigure our entire business model. Based off what many people got that December 15th letter from the EDD saying we may have to do this as of January 1st. So we are in the initial process of converting our 75 contractors to employees. I don't know whether we'll be able to afford it. I certainly won't be able to offer graphic services like we do. We offer writing services to children all the way to seniors, up to 50 programs a month. So much of that will have to be cut. We won't have as diverse audiences. The fees will go to the consumer. We're very low cost right now, but we're going to have to hike those up tremendously. And these are people that are authors. They don't make a lot of money, or adjunct professors, others like myself. So it's unfortunate. We're seeing it in a variety of different.
Right, so because of this, you'll have fewer people. Because of
If we
the
continue to do that, I need, you know, I'm doing some figures, there are a lot of resources out there to help me convert everyone over, so, we'll see what happens.
Sorry, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a technical writer and instructional designer, so people hire me to write their training. And so part of the reason I got into what I do is because I'm a mom. In fact, I have to leave in 20 minutes to go get my kid. So I sneak out, that's where I'm going. And it's obviously gives me the flexibility. I can write whenever I want to. And the problem I find, because I'm a writer and do instructional design, is I like to work weird hours. I'm not a 9-to-5er. It's just not. I can't work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh my god,
Yep.
so it's already started to affect me in the fact that I have some out-of-state clients who are just like, well, we can't hire you. We don't understand what California's doing, and it's just too dangerous to touch.
If I can interject some, because Megan made a really good point at a legal briefing we had. As an instructional designer, I can't talk today, I'm sorry. You work for instructional design firms.
I do.
And so that second part of the law where you can't work as if they're doing the same business, that's insanity to me.
Let's hear from Brian, and then there is a Supreme Court decision. So Brian actually owns Fitness West.
I do.
It's right over here.
I'm Brian Curry, community activist, strong supporter of Barbara, campaigner,
And
owner of
Brian's-
the gym. And how it affects us really, I mean, we have yoga instructors, we have spin instructors, Pilates instructors, all of which work at multiple gyms or have completely other jobs, and I can't let them all be employees. It's just outrageous for me to start paying disability, to take on a liability, pay workman's comp, I came out of a corporate lifestyle where human resources rules the roost. Human resources is going crazy. So I'm asking everyone to produce a business license, produce, their own insurance, and of course some of these folks, that's their job, not my job. But anyway, it's truly put me now on the hook for possible impact. When they do audit me, I've already been audited workman's comp from the insurance company now says, hey, this is the new thing, so they maybe pay back workman's comp on previous basically independent contractors. They're not even employees.
It's retroactive?
Yes.
Yeah, so they can start doing that when they have that kind of backing from the state, they'll certainly do that. So that costs me $2,000, which, so it can come around. So this has got to just.
So are you hiring fewer people because of this? Or?
Right now, we've lost 2 because they didn't want to get business license, so it's, right now, I just feel like I'm at risk. We haven't quit hiring people. I feel like I'm at risk doing all the back taxes. All the back taxes and everything else, so I just can't do it as a business owner. So it really is, and I have friends who are in the music profession. They go to different gigs, different clubs. They can't be an employee of every club.
Yeah, they do like 30.
Every Renaissance festival.
One of my yoga instructors sells food over at Turquoise Street. She's not an employee. She just comes over and does yoga twice a week.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to be an employee.
Give her $50 a week.
It's not their full-time job.
So it's just,
Yeah. So why don't I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, you and I have met because I was drawing when you were on Darren. And
Oh, that's right, when I was on his podcast.
Yeah,
you
I
were
was
there.
drawing. Actually, I have my iPad with me. I'll show it to you. So I'm a cartoonist, but I'm also a writer and a consultant. I do a million things and I have an S corp. But even that isn't going to protect me from some of the prongs of. And I've never ever done anything political in my entire life. I've never worn a pussy hat. I've never held a sign. But for the past month and a half, I've done nothing but talk about AB Five. I've been on Twitter 24/7. My Twitter handle is DaVinci. You know me. You've seen some choice words that I put up for Loretta Gonzalez. This is absolutely outrageous. And it's I don't know, I can't quantify how much business I've lost because I don't know who's calling me because I live in California. I don't know who won't even touch me because I live in California.
Yeah.
So there's no way to quantify how much business I've lost. I've kept most of my clients, most of them are out of state, but this even applies to clients that are out of state, and this law doesn't even seem to have any clue what happens in the 21st century.
Yeah.
That most of my work is writing and producing visuals, some kind of content. And most of my clients are someplace else. And even they are supposed to not work with us as independent contractors. How is that? And I'm supposed to be incorporated, but I can't qualify. Like I used to do a lot of freelance work for advertising agencies. That's where I come from. I'm a copywriter. Can't freelance for advertising agencies anymore. They don't want to put me on staff, and I don't want to be on staff. I'm coming on projects. I'm happy to do it. When the project's over, I'm done.
And you don't want to be in a
politics.
place.
Yeah.
So the reality is there is a Supreme Court decision called Dynamix, which you're all familiar with. And then the issue became, and I think what the Supreme, and I'm not an attorney here, and I'm glad to have an attorney here.
And that was California Supreme Court, not.
The California Supreme Court. And but the US Supreme Court is unlikely to, they take up here. And I think the intent was to protect someone who was really worked full-time for a company, but was being taken advantage of, was
That's
really.
happened to me. I know the difference between
Right,
when I'm
exactly.
being taken advantage of and when I'm not.
Right, and what attorneys have told me is that it was written badly, the Supreme Court decision, but that what the legislature should have done was instead of just trying to create exemptions, and basically the professions that got exempted were ones that had lobbyists, doctors and lawyers and real estate brokers.
And insurance brokers.
And insurance brokers.
Good lobbyists.
Good
Let's put that word in front.
Thank you very much. Good
Because
luck.
there is a distinguishing factor in this.
Right.
With that.
Well, I would say lobbyists for industries have financial resources too, but you could even have a bad lobbyist in that industry. Yes,
That's
you
what's
could.
happened in mine.
That's what happened in yours. So and I'm not an attorney, but what I've been told is the legislature should have stepped back and said, well, we live in a new world today. there are people who are indeed being taken advantage of, who show up to work 40 hours a week at Apple and are treated as an independent contractor and shouldn't. But yet in today's world, we have people who do many different kinds, who actually have many different occupations, let alone work for many different kinds of employers. And we should have created a new category of worker.
But Lorena Gonzalez has tweeted, and I have screenshots, there will be no third category, there will be no third way.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and it's like, here we live in California, where you could be any one or any million, you can identify as any gender you want.
Right.
You can be W2 and
Greatest point.
Well, no, but that's what I said.
I identify as an independent contractor, and she's taking that away from me. No, seriously, it's a joke, I know.
No, but I did. When I spoke out, when I addressed Todd Gloria, I said, we are not binary.
I saw you,
You know, because, and I said that very
And he
purposefully.
was very comfortable.
And that's why I said it. I said it very intentionally. Like, how can you uphold those rights and you're telling us that we don't have the right to decide where we want to work?
And there are screenshots of Lorena saying, there should be no third way. There's not to be a third way. And I think that's silly because, I mean, even Uber drivers. I'll tell you something that even my husband doesn't know. I drove for Lyft for a couple of months. I didn't tell him because I knew that he wouldn't let me and he'd be upset, but we needed money. He has his own business too. Things were a little tight. I didn't want to make him feel bad. He works late. He sleeps late. I got up at 5 a.m. and went to the airport. And don't show him this video.
You gotta do so much censoring in this video.
But you know, I made a few $100s extra here, you know, and it really got us through a hard time. And when things got better, I stopped. And everyone's saying, oh, there's so much turnover at Uber because they mistreat their employees. No, their people find better things to do, and then they do that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what it's for. And people who try to make a full-time job out of what was never meant to be a full-time job, and then they complain that they're not making enough money. It's like, stop it, do something else. I'm sorry, I know I'm monopolizing it. Shut up. But you know, this has been my life for the past 6 weeks, and I've never spoken out of anything in my life.
So Selena's reminded me, I need to leave in a few minutes, so here's what I'd like to do. I'd love to get the sign-up sheet of all of you. Well, I think there's also another sign-up sheet they passed around we could take a picture of. So I guess what you're all interested in is what can you do now to get a good legislative fix? And if it's repealed, we still got the Supreme Court decision. Yeah.
Well, does the Supreme Court decision only apply to drivers?
It should have.
But does it? That's what I haven't read
Dynamex.
I haven't read it today to refresh my memory. But I didn't know if it applied specifically to drivers or to all.
It does if you make it. If you get $1.4 million from unions for your campaign, like Lorena Gonzalez did,
Yeah.
then you make it apply.
Yeah, so, and Selena will know, I was just talking earlier to a labor leader in San Diego. The labor, you know, I'm a lifelong Democrat, you know, and I support the right of workers to join unions, and I think unions have a very good place in the world. And basically what this individual was telling me was that everybody should be an employee if they even do 1 hour. No, I know, I said that's not the reality of today's world. And I think the intent of Dynamex was to protect someone who's full-time at a company and being treated as an independent contractor. So I think that there needs to be a new labor code, and that's really the approach the legislature should take. So I would just say, you know, continuing pressuring your legislators, the local legislators, you know, Tony Atkins, Shirley Weber, Todd Gloria, Lorena, all of them, as much as you need to. I mean, are you all is there an organization, Elizabeth, in a way that you're all going about this? Or?
There's been just a Facebook group that we're part of, and it's just a loosely associated people from both sides of the aisle who have been displaced by AB 5, and there's 13,000 people on the group.
Wow.
Yeah,
now.
in the space for freelancers against AB 5.
Yeah.
Remember, Facebook
Which I
keeps you from
understand.
having emails. You remember that. I mean, that's a minor point, but an important one. With their Facebook, it's Facebook's group.
It's a Facebook group, but there's
We can get those people to opt in. I can get those
But there's
people to opt in.
13,000 people, but it is bipartisan. And there's a lot of anger towards Democrats right now because of this, because our Democratic leadership has failed on so many levels.
Right.
And and most of all in their representation, in the way that they're speaking to us, in the way they're hanging up on us, in the way that Lorena Gonzalez is cussing at people,
Yeah.
in the way that they're
You shouldn't fucking
not.
have to have more than one job.
And
I understand she meant if you work full time, you should be able to do it. I get that, but the person who's saying we don't get to have side gigs anymore, and she said you shouldn't have to, so you don't get it when you want to.
But they're being hostile and rude and not and I feel like they're reversing victim and offender. They're acting like we're the problem and they're the solution, when they're the problem and we're the solution.
Yeah.
And they've reversed roles on us, and that's a psychological tactic.
Yeah, so there is a legislator who has proposed repeal, right? That's his
Kevin Tyler.
Kylie.
So
Yes.
you should be all over his social media thanking him. You are.
We are.
I am. I have to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
I'm saying
Yours is
I'm
probably
learning
better
to
than mine.
say never because Kevin Kiley is a pro-life Republican, and I'm having to learn how to communicate with somebody who I haven't communicated with before. It's not my inclination.
So does he have any Democrats signed up to co-sponsor with him?
I don't know that he has any Democrats signed up. So they're hoping that Democrats will come across the aisle.
The vote is on the
He's reached out.
27th.
On the
He's been very
27th.
good about reaching out.
Oh, like actually
Yeah, I spoke to his office. I called his office
Which vote is that?
to repeal?
to repeal
And then
his
there's
assembly bill.
bills. One is like a AB 50 or so. It's a
1850 is Lorena's, it's a bill.
There's a one that's only two numbers.
Well, it's 1928 is Kevin Kylie's bill, right?
Yeah, 1820.
Repeal.
It's being heard next Thursday.
Next
There's another one
Thursday.
that is to change the charter so that if this bill moves forward, if this bill gets repealed, then it can't go back and be reignited. I don't know the
But the way you've been framing it has been, let's press pause on this right now and suspend it so that we can take the time to come up with something that is more strategic.
We need
That's how
an
he's trying to frame
we need
it.
an injunction. We just need an injunction.
He's doing it to help him save face, but I think he needs like, let's stop this and fix it.
Truckers got the injunction on January 1st.
Well,
The ones that really basis of the.
they only got that because they did.
I know.
Although I was trying to find last night, so there are reasons, they are actually,
And that's why the approach is wrong.
yes, because now you and I can't rip it elsewhere. Yes, we can't rip it elsewhere.
Next year will be.
So it is actually pretty hard.
Like 20 years ago, there wasn't software, she wasn't a cybersecurity expert.
So
So that's why the approach is the wrong approach. It's really a set of principles. is what
Well,
they
when you
need to-
look at it from what is in the best interest of the litigants in this state, people, and that is this, to wrangle a court reporter whose very core base foundationally is to be impartial and to make sure that the spoken record is taken down properly and force them into being in a situation where they are now biased because they are owned by somebody is the beginning of the breakdown of our judicial system.
Yeah.
That is a problem.
I agree with you, so
Yes.
I'm just trying to be helpful in terms of how you can, so is there any kind of a trade group that kind of represents all of you you have a trade group?
There are numerous ones,
Okay.
and there's the National Court Reporters Association, and back in November, I reached out to Jocelyn Moore, who is the lobbyist for that organization, and she told me that we were the 6th state to deal with this type of legislation. And I went back into my email inbox for the past 2 years, and there was never anything stated about anything like this from the National Court Reporters Association. Subsequently to that phone call, I made a phone call to the California Court Reporters Association that has been in business for 110 years
Yelling at my phone.
to protect our profession. And Sandy Walden, the president of that organization, told me that they did not do anything about this, and their lobbyist, Ignacio Hernandez, did absolutely nothing about this because the Deposition Reporters Association wrote a letter. And I said, that's not a reason. I want to know what you did prior to the DRA writing their letter in June. finally, after corralling cats for I don't know how many minutes, she answered my question and said nothing. And I said, Sandy, doing nothing is something. You made a statement. You have a duty to contact every reporter in the state and tell them what this is and allow them a voice. She promised me she would. January 1st came and went. I called her on January 3rd, and I said, Sandy, I didn't receive my letter, and I don't know anyone else who did.
Okay.
I suggest getting to the press, you know, and also getting to like our elected officials like Todd Gloria and making his name bang. He's
Todd Gloria.
running.
Todd Gloria co-sponsored.
That's what I'm saying. He's running for an office, so he has a reason. So you say, you know, to the press, you know, the sponsor of this bill is Todd Gloria, and you start to get reaction.
So you can write letters to the editor of the Union Tribune, of your community newspapers. Elizabeth was on KUSI.
Oh, do you know that column in the Union Tribune that where they asked like 6 or 8 people what they think?
What they think about it.
Unanimously, this bill needs to be fixed or repealed.
Yes.
Unanimously,
You're
you'll
right.
never get 100%.
Right.
Yes, 100%.
You're right, they never get 100%.
I hate to be the person that interrupts here, but I believe Councilwoman Bry has to leave shortly.
I have to leave, so what I'd like to do is be able to communicate with either just Rob or Elizabeth. So if I think you've got to put pressure on the elected officials, which is, and I would start with the San Diego delegation. And just, I would tell them your personal stories. I mean, that is really, it is reality and it is very moving to hear your personal stories.
I've reached out to many different media outlets, and I've gotten crickets in response.
A lot of them have their own agendas.
Yeah.
Well, the newspaper industry is actually very impacted by this, Elizabeth.
So one obvious thing we can do is to remember that we don't want Todd Gloria to be our mayor, right?
That's exactly right.
And so spread the word. And let's just be honest, because I know that here, because I invited people from our group that are from both sides of the aisle, and I know some people are leaning towards Scott Sherman. And you have to really think here what we're doing, what we want, what city we want, and to really think about your vote and to spread that word. Like, that's one of the most effective things you can do.
Who is here in this meeting with us?
Well,
She was asked. I was invited, but I was asked because I support repealing 85.
But here's the thing, you didn't all this, you were on TV, not long ago. When you were asked about this, you weren't as strong about this as you are now. What changed your mind?
Well, I actually did put out a statement about a week. So first I just said fix it.
Yeah,
Which I
no, I
did.
saw that, and I thought that was a good step in the right
But
direction.
then about a week ago, after I heard more stories, particularly from Elizabeth, who's a friend, it really became evident that repeal was the only way to go, that it's not, you can't approach it by doing exemptions. Because you're gonna miss somebody. It's about having a series of principles and addressing the individual who's being taken advantage of, which is not it's not the situation here today. So, I think I'll just end with, there is an election March 3rd, some of you.
Thank you so much for supporting us, Megan.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm fighting to get out of the primary because Todd has the Democratic Party endorsements. My brother got in the last week. He has the Republican Party endorsement. Money comes with those endorsements. When it's a one-on-one race, the polling has shown I can beat Todd. And I'm a businesswoman, and that's why I get what is happening to you. Todd has never signed the front of the paycheck. He just doesn't understand it.
I saw him talking to her, and he was like, he looked at her like she was one of the.
Well, tonight there's
Well,
actually,
it was
yesterday we taped a candidate
gaslighting.
forum with KUSI that'll air tonight at 9 o'clock. And the moderator, Paul Ruddy, just went after Todd on 85 because they have a high school football thing where they use freelance photographers who all have other jobs, who just love doing this, get paid, do it a little bit on Friday and Saturdays. It's not their full-time job, and they can't. KUSI is not hiring them.
So vote.
There's over legislation in Sacramento. I mean, then they don't realize the repercussions, right? I mean, Todd wants to do control land use at the state level for what we want to do. It's just crazy. I mean, they just want to legislate.
I have one possible suggestion, and that is this. I think that anybody who owns a business clearly knows how to take care of themselves. I think anybody who has graduated with a degree from college knows how to take care of themselves. I also feel that anybody who has a license with the Department of Consumer Affairs knows how to take care of themselves. If we could get all those people exempted, I think we'd take a large chunk of the problems away.
Actually, that's a very, and I like the way you came at it. You didn't say it's exempting doctors, lawyers, you came at it as a set of principles.
Yes, but then people like Lorena Gonzalez will say, you're making this into a class warfare thing, educating people against.
They made it by giving doctors and attorneys and not other people.
Yes, they did.
And also, you said anybody with a license, so that could be a cosmetologist, so that isn't such a question. So that's why it's very interesting what you propose.
Councilwoman Breyer, we're very grateful you came. You continue to ask questions. Thank you so much. Let's give her a picture to go with if we could.